All right, time now for our financial focus, and Steve Budin is our financial analyst, of course. He joins us now with some of the big headlines today, and a bit of a mixed bag here. Start with the GDP, less than 1% industrial economic output for the year, right? So what does that indicate?
It basically indicates the economy is still slow. In a normally healthy economy, you want to see growth between 3 and 4%. And what's concerning about these numbers to me is just with population growth in the United States, you really need the economy to be growing by at least 2%. And what gross domestic product means basically is the whole nation's output. Services, goods, cars, legal expenses, like everything that goes into the economy. And when it grows at 1%, technically it's not a recession, but it's still not where you want to be.
It's like we talked about it being like your household income at 1%, but your bills are going up sometimes by 2 or 3%.
That's right.
And so that's where you get into trouble here.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
Now we got some interesting news here because we got indications that consumer spending and income is up.
Right.
Right?
And this is what makes these studies so interesting is they're not consistent.
Right.
So the government released some spending numbers today, went up about 0.6%, which is pretty good. The issue is that's with people with jobs. So if you have a job, you might be spending money, you might be feeling okay, your income is going up. If you don't have a job, you're not part of that survey.
Right.
So you might fall into that third category which was there, which was the consumer sentiment numbers, which actually were down. So I know you were asking me before, like how does all this come together? It's really A, who are you asking, and B, when are they being asked?
Right, because every time I've heard about consumer confidence being up, I always think the next one, well, we said consumer spending is up, so I always think, well, consumer confidence is up because you have money, you're secure, you think your financial status is secure. But our third point here is consumer confidence is actually down. So that seems at odds. Those last two seem totally at odds.
Right. So A, who was surveyed, and B, when were they surveyed? So the consumer confidence number to me is a little bit more broadly accepted. So folks, if they're not feeling good, I wouldn't be surprised if you see that spending number go down next month. And I've mentioned this before, why I don't put too much credibility into these month-by-month reports is exactly that, where there's such deviations in the reliability of the data. So what I like to see is over a 3 or 6 month period, what do the trends look like? And the GDP number at the top is an annualized number, but they take it quarterly. So the trends are a little bit more reliable, but all three of those really lead to a lot of inconsistencies.
Right, and we're saying getting back to the GDP is less than 1%. So typically on a sort of healthy or even a robust economy, what would that number normally be at?
Yeah, you're looking, let's say 3 to 4%. And I bring that one up as we enter the election cycle. Both sides of the aisle will spin these numbers.
Right.
One side will say, oh, the economy's not doing well. If the do-nothing Congress would get out of the way, things would be okay. The other side's going to say, see, now you have 8 years of failed policies. So the interesting thing about these surveys is both sides have something to blame and both sides have something to grasp onto to promote their cause, and it just leads to more confusion.
Yeah, it always seems like it depends on who's talking,
That's
right? With these politicians as far as if it's the economy's good or bad.
That's right.
Yeah.
And they'll always have a statistic, they'll always have a study to back their cause, which makes it frustrating for the voters because it's very often difficult to determine who's right.
Right. I think most people determine if the economy's good is if A, I'm employed, and B, I'm paying my bills, right? And C, maybe if I'm stashing a little bit in savings here and there.
Right, and that's that age-old quote, if you, a recession is if your neighbor loses his job and a depression is if you lose yours.
Right.
It just depends on where you're at in your own circumstance, but on a big picture scale, it would be nice to have the economy growing a little quicker to give everybody that confidence.
Excellent. All right, Steve Budin, as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. All right, Dana.